right, all praises to the Most High. We was able to come to the school, a few of the officers. We also have Officer Job with us today, and he brought Soldier Zara, right? So I said Zara. All praise we got them in the house too from the LA camp. So it's just a couple of us at the school, and we're going to try to bring a quick little lesson to you guys today, Lord, so we don't take too long. We give you about 20, 30 minutes for leadership class start. So the title of this class is Lord, Show Me a Sign. All right, Lord, Show Me a Sign. That's the title of the class. So as you guys know, the topic of discussion has been the coronavirus, so forth and so on, and then pestilence. Now that's just one sign, and we put a lot into that right now. You know, look, pestilence is going on around the world. People are sick. Something, you know, like you can actually see a pestilence for the first time. We heard about SARS. We heard about bird flu. We heard about, swine flu, all these different things, right? H1N1. But it ain't never touched nobody near us, right? But this is the first time in our lifetime that a pestilence hit where it shut down the world. Right. The world. You know what I'm saying? This is the first time in history. And I was talking to, our leadership group last week. I was like, when you look back at it, this is probably the first time in American history that their Easter got shut down. Yeah. You know, when you think about it, right? Right. And what's amazing about that is when you look at the very first Passover, we kept in our individual houses, right? We had to put the blood around the post, which that's how we did it this year in our individual houses. Right. So we was able to hold our high holy day the way we had been doing it before originally, but wicked Easter got shut down. Also happy. And when you look at it, think about how much money the world lost, specifically America lost, by not celebrating Easter. All those Easter baskets, all those funny, colorful suits they didn't sell, you know, all the chocolates and cards and all that. They didn't make no money off that this year. So all praises to the Most High. They stuff got shut down, you know. So Lord, show me a sign. All right, that's the title of today's class. I got a few scriptures, and I'm going to go through a lot of videos and articles and stuff. So let's start with Matthew chapter 24. And at the end of this class, I'm going to hit you with something heavy today. So let's see who catch it. All right, let's go Matthew 24. We're going to start at verse 1.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 1. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple.
So that, look, this temple's beautiful, right? This is nice. Lord, look at this. Come on.
And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another, and shall not be thrown down. That shall not be thrown down.
And that's the same thing happened to the disciples, right? Thing happened to us. We feel like, hey, we got a good job. We got this nice little house. We got this nice little car. Look what I got. This is nice. Not realizing that every possession that you own is going to be destroyed. Mm-hmm. But we put so much pride into, okay, I got a nice car. I got a luxury car now, or I got a bigger house. That's nice. That's cool and everything else, but it's going to be destroyed. And so the disciples got caught up into the worldliness, the carnal side of things. Like, look at this temple. Wow, that's not the temple that we're going to be having forever. That's just going to be for right now. And the Lord is reminding them, this is going to be destroyed. You do understand that, right? Read on.
Verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately.
Now, I want y'all to remember this, because I told you I'm going to hit you with something heavy, right? Remember this verse right here. Read it again.
And he sat upon the mountain Olives. The disciples
Who?
The disciples,
okay,
came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world?
Because that shook them when he said, hey, not one stone, this place is going to be thrown down, it's going to be destroyed. So they got shook and said, you know what, let's wait till Christ is alone. We don't want to ask him this question in front of everybody, because it looked like we don't know, he's following you, we don't even know what's going on. Right. That's the same thing happens, right now. You may hear something go out and you, hey, officer, can you break that down to me? I'm not quite sure what you meant by that. Yeah, that's what the disciples was doing. Like, okay, let me wait till we get him privately and ask him, what do you mean by that? All right, I'll read on.
And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
Now, why would he have to tell the disciples that? To take heed that no man deceive you? Because the disciples were thinking, hey, this is going to last forever. Christ is going to be here forever. He ain't really going to die. I seen him raise men from the dead. So if he's always here, how's somebody going to deceive me? But he's reminding them, listen, y'all disciples, you're not looking at the signs. I'm only going to be here for a short while, And when I leave, You may not be deceived, but it's up to you to spread the word so our brothers and sisters don't be deceived. Read on.
Verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars.
So, okay, that's one of the signs, right? You're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars, which we go over this ad nauseum all the time. We have wars, rumors of wars. We've seen wars, right? When we've seen us have periods of time where there's rumors of wars. If you lived through the Cold War, that was when Russia and U.S., before they was disbanded to the USSR, that was when it was that Cold War. They didn't know who was going to drop the bomb first or when was the war going to pop off. So we lived through, that's a rumor of war, and that lasts for a long time, but we actually lived through wars, Gulf War, Korean War, different things like that, right? So Desert Storm. So we actually have, this sign right here has came true. There's no doubt about it. Read on.
See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
So he's saying, look, these things that I'm telling you, it has to happen. There's no way around it. I can't save you from it. It is what it is. It's been prophesied. It has to happen. But don't be troubled when you see these things. Now, that doesn't mean that there's a pestilence going on, right? So I'm not going to wear a mask, or I'm not going to put gloves, or I'm going to get close to everybody, and people can cough in my face. I don't care. It's not saying do that. You still got to be careful, right? You know, the scripture says be careful for nothing. Right, so if you're careful for nothing, you should be careful for something.
Yeah, I'm
right?
I'm not gonna go around licking toilets.
Nah. You go. I sent the video. Yes, going around licking toilets. So I'm not scared, and they end up getting coronavirus.
Man.
So you gotta still be careful. Got to be wise. We shouldn't be out in public unless we have to. We shouldn't want to do that anyway. But we still have to be careful. But he's saying this is just the beginning. These things has to happen. Read on.
Verse 7.
We're going all the way to verse 8.
Yes, sir. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom.
So we see that. For nation shall rise against nation. And what?
And there shall be famines.
No, nation shall rise against nation.
Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom.
Come on.
And there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places.
Every single one of those things have happened. But the one area that we don't really talk about is that nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And I'm going to be hitting on that today. But we can see famine. You go to the grocery stores, you still can't see certain things right now. And all praise to the Most High, I think the largest pork facility shut down because they had coronavirus run rampant in their facility, so they shut down production. Then they were saying that it hit one of the largest beef factories or whatever, that they may be shutting down. And they're saying you're going to see real soon that you're going to see less meat in the grocery stores. So it's hitting one by one by one. That famine, just because you may not see it fully now doesn't mean it's not coming. But if it doesn't come today, if it doesn't come tomorrow, next month, the Lord said that it is going to come. So at some point, a famine is going to hit. But I'm telling you now, you can see the signs of it starting to pop off now. All right? Something as little as masks. They're saying that to go out in public, you must wear a mask. Now, ask yourself, can you find a mask in a store? You can't find a mask.
Not right now. No.
You got hospitals saying, we don't have enough masks for the doctors.
Right. But
they're going to make every person wear one out in public? Where are you going to get the mask from? So, anyway, where we at?
End of verse 7, into verse 8.
Come on.
All these are the beginning of sorrows.
See, the Lord is saying, this is heavy right here. He's saying this is just the beginning. Not like, oh, these things happen off, the Lord's coming now. He's saying this is just the beginning of what?
Of sorrows.
Of sorrows. And who's that sorrows he's talking to? He's not talking about the sorrows for the other nations, right? Because they're already going to be destroyed and judged. Right. He's saying, even for my people, this is the beginning of sorrows for y'all too. Because guess what? Some of y'all going to die from pestilence. Some of y'all may die from a famine. Some of y'all may die because y'all lost work. You can't feed yourself. Different things like that. Here in America, we might have a little bit more protection, but what about our brothers and sisters on the islands? Right. That don't have the Trump stimulus money he sent out. We got to think about that too. We can't just think of our little local area right here in America where we may have a little bit more luxuries and a little bit more what am I looking for?
First world benefits.
First world benefits than they may have. Yeah. All right. So we have to look at as a whole, as a nation. This is just the beginning of sorrows for us. That's verse 8.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's drop down to verse 36.
Verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man.
Because everybody's going to be predicting. They're asking, okay, show us a sign. Okay, these are all the signs. We can see all these things happen. But he's reminding them of that particular day when I return, nobody's going to know. Read on.
No, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only.
There's only one person, and that is the Most High. Christ said, I don't even know when I'm returning. It's when the Most High tell me go. You go ahead and do it. Now's the time. But until that day, nobody knows. So don't even ask me is what he's saying. Don't even ask me. Read on.
But as the days of...
And you know another reason why he's saying, why the Lord says that nobody knows but the Most High is because if there was a date where they said, this is the date that the Lord's coming back, everybody would stay in wickedness until that last day.
Right.
All right, I'm going to repent now since he's coming back tomorrow.
Procrastinate all the way to the last day.
That's what will happen. That's what will happen.
Uh-huh.
And how do we know that? How many times you hear people say, hey, you know what, man, what y'all saying, what y'all doing, I believe it, but I just got to get myself right before I get there.
Right.
Meaning I want to enjoy this sin I'm in a little bit longer.
Right.
We will be doing the same thing. Oh, I got a week for he returns, so let me go ahead and, do this one more time.
It don't take me 3 days to get myself right.
a couple days to clean my system out, I take that Deacon Asaph concoction, I'll be clean then, I'll be good. Nah, it ain't gonna work like that. Read on.
Verse 37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
So just like it was for the days of Noah, Noah spent years warning people. Hey, get right, repent, you wrong, this, that, and the third. He was building that ark, and they thought he was bugged out his mind. What are you talking about? It's gonna rain. What's that? What are you talking about? It's gonna flood. What's that?
Right.
Noah, man, you been hitting that bottle too hard, man. A little too much strong drink, bruh. And they went right back to doing the same thing today. We go out on the streets and teach. Man, y'all in the cult, y'all crazy. Y'all take the Bible too literal. It ain't really gonna happen. All that. It's the same thing the Lord saying, just like in the days of Noah. Come on.
For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage.
And guess what? With this pestilence going on outside, right? With shortages of food on the brinks of coming to fruition, right? The famine coming, jobs not certain to come back, all these things. Trump sent that money out, and one of the first things that disappeared in the market, guess what that was? Televisions. I seen a picture where it showed Walmart had completely sold out of televisions. Sold out of televisions. Think about that. Of all the things to buy, Walmart sold out of televisions. Because that's where people's mind is at.
Right.
Just like in the days of Noah. This isn't the end. This will be over with. No big deal. It's a pestilence. Yeah. Right back. We'll be right back to our normal routine real soon. That's the same thing. Back then, same thing now. No different. Read on.
Right. Until the day that Noah entered into the ark.
But once Noah entered into the ark,
and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
A lot of us think that when the flood happened, that it happened overnight. We forget that it was 40 days, 40 nights. It don't just come down, rain, and all of a sudden it's a flood.
Right.
I want y'all to think about this. When that flood happened, it started off with, just the rain. All right, it's raining. Oh, shoot, dang, it rained. Okay.
Never seen that before.
All right, this is new, water from the sky. Okay.
Right.
But then after a while, water got up to maybe about an inch. And y'all think, well, what's so big about an inch of water? I want y'all to think. If you had an inch of water in your house right now, how uncomfortable would that be?
Yeah.
Just 1 inch of water in your house. Now, keep in mind the type of shoes they had back then. Sandals,
right.
No pavement, So you're talking about in your own house, muddy everywhere you step, right? Maybe had leaky roofs. Who had solid roofs back then to stop the rain from coming in the house? We don't even have that now. Some houses, drip when it rains.
Right.
All right? So imagine what that was like. So now imagine the water's up to about 6 inches off the ground. How uncomfortable that is. Then you got the cold coming along with it. Now they're starting to think when it gets about 6 inches, maybe a foot, damn, Noah was right.
Right.
But Noah's already in that ark, chilling. It's too late at that point. That's the same thing that's happening right now. All this stuff is going on in people's faces, not realizing that it's flooding in front of them, and they just like, let me go get me a TV. That's where their mind's at. What verse you at?
Verse 40.
We'll go to 45.
Yes, sir. Then shall two be in the field. One shall be taken, the other left. 2 women shall be grinding at the mill. One shall be taken, and the other left.
So some of our people, what this is getting into, will be saved. Some will be left behind because they didn't take this message seriously. All the signs that the Lord is showing us, that's nothing. That's not what he's talking about. It's not big enough yet, or that's just one of them. It ain't coming yet. End days, how long is that going to be? Same thing. Come on.
Watch therefore.
But the Lord is saying to do what?
Watch therefore.
He's saying to watch. Don't get caught up thinking that this is not going to end. It's going to end. Now keep in mind, who is he talking to? He's talking to the disciples. So if anybody should know, should be them, right? He's reminding the disciples to do what?
Watch therefore.
To stay vigilant. Watch. Pay attention to what's happening. Come on.
For ye know not what hour your Lord doth come.
Because it gets very easy to get complacent. It gets very easy to get into a routine and this will go on forever. It may not be my lifetime. It gets very easy to fall into that trap. So he's reminding the disciples, hey man, y'all need to watch. Because when I leave, y'all going to be the leaders. Y'all going to be the ones that's spreading this. So make sure you're on point. Read on.
But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up.
That's the same thing. Like if the Lord told all of us what date he's coming back, then we would be ready for it. But he's saying, no, I'm not doing that. Y'all going to have to earn this. Y'all have to stay ready. You know what I'm saying? So he's saying, look, if you know when the thief is coming, of course you're going to protect your house and be ready to go. That's the way we got to be at all times, because you never know when the thief is coming. Read on.
Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not the Son of Man cometh.
Because right now we're all thinking, okay, this is a pestilence, but is this really the pestilence the Lord's talking about? Is this really a famine? You don't know. You're not sure, right? But if you're watching and you're ready, you're going to treat it as if, this is it, and getting yourself together, getting yourself right, hashing out any problems you may have with somebody, whatever secret sins you may be in, you'll be working to get that fixed, because at any moment the Son of Man could come, and you don't want to get caught, where you have unresolved sin still in you. So that's carrying on in you. So you want to watch and pay attention and stay vigilant. Read on.
Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season?
But in due season, if you watch it and you're ready and you're paying attention to what's going on, that meat, because there's a famine, is not talking about literal meat. It's talking about that reward that we got is coming in due time. But also, during all this going on, the Lord's still going to take care of us and provide for us. But that does not mean to sit on our hands and say, okay, I'm waiting for some Lord to drop some manna for me. That ain't how it's going to work. You still got to prepare yourself and be ready, during this time. All right? But you got to pay attention to the signs. Now, I want to show a couple of videos right here, and then we'll get to some articles, all right? So, we dealing with nation rising against nation, all right? Now, we went through all the different signs, or a lot of different signs, but say what? It's going to be in that one. But I want you guys to, we're going to watch this video, and we're going to show nation rising against nation. And these are the signs that's happening in front of your eyes that you're not paying attention to. Most of us aren't paying attention to. You may be. But watch this.
We also have new information tonight that you heard John Roberts ask about the origins of the coronavirus. Multiple sources say this may be the costliest government cover-up of all time by China. The belief now, you heard the chairman of the Joint Chiefs asked about it, that the intelligence was inconclusive, but there is a growing belief that the COVID-19 virus originated in the Wuhan lab, not as a bioweapon, but as China's effort to find and deal with viruses to show the world China was as good as or better than the U.S. on that front. It's believed that the virus was bat to human, and then the human, patient zero, worked at the lab, went into the population in Wuhan, and the virus quickly spread from there. China, according to sources, moved quickly to shut down travel domestically from Wuhan to the rest of China, but did not immediately stop international flights from Wuhan. These sources say the World Health Organization was complicit from the beginning, helping China cover its tracks, and that is where we begin tonight. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts starts us off. Good evening, John. You asked about this reporting tonight, got something from the president, and obviously part of the reason why the president's coming down so hard on the WHO.
Yeah, there certainly has been a real change in tone from back in early February when the president described the WHO as some of the best and the brightest. Clearly, as this information begins to develop and is beginning to gain more traction now among U.S. officials, the president is changing his mind not only about the WHO, but about what happened in China. I asked him directly the information that you and I had discussed earlier today. He didn't really go down the road of a concrete answer, but he did suggest that he's looking at that and that is becoming something that the federal government really wants to know a whole lot more about, Brett.
Obviously, China has pushed back about this line. The WHO came out publicly and said they were disappointed in the U.S. decision. But the president appears to be at least warming up to this line of thinking. And really, the origins of this virus become a big, big story if it all pans out, as these sources are saying.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And that's why I asked the president the follow-up, because he speaks to President Xi on many, many different occasions. He says he's got a great relationship with him. So I asked the president if in any of the conversations that he has had in recent months with President Xi, or even going back a couple of years, because there is this reporting, which we have confirmed now, that officials from the U.S. Embassy in Beijing visited this virology lab, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and were concerned enough about a lack of safety protocols there that they cabled back to the State Department that something should happen on this front to tighten up those security protocols. That's why I asked the president if he ever spoke to President Xi about that. The president said, I'm not going to tell you what I told President Xi or talked to him about in regard to the laboratory, but it does sort of indicate that there may have been a conversation there.
Now, did you guys catch that? What the U.S. is saying now, and they said they have evidence, they're investigating this, is that China actually had been working on viruses. The Wuhan Viral Institute, which is the same as the CDC, right? They have these different viruses there, and China is trying to say, look, we know how to fight against viruses, so they can come out with a vaccine or they can come out with some medicine that now you could buy your medicine from China instead of getting it from America or something like that. So they're trying to prove that they can handle that. So they let one of the guys that worked on it left out of there, infected the Wuhan area. And then what China did, because they knew this was going on, they stopped flights inside of China. For instance, you couldn't fly from Wuhan to Beijing or something like that. Or let's say if it was in the U.S., you couldn't fly from New York to L.A. or New York to Chicago. You couldn't fly nowhere in that country. But they allowed planes to fly from Wuhan to everywhere else in the world, which effectively what? Spread the virus. So that's what the U.S. is pushing right now. All right? Let's go to the next video.
Yeah, that's a bold statement, officer.
It's a very bold statement. Let's watch this next video.
Controlling the narrative or changing it completely. As President Xi Jinping visited Wuhan this week for the first time since the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak, his government went on the defensive, aggressively responding to another message coming from Washington.
This is the Wuhan coronavirus.
It started in China and is now spreading throughout the world.
As cases rise in the United States, its officials are emphasizing that the pandemic was, quote, made in China.
This virus did not originate in the United States. It originated in Wuhan in Hubei province in China. It originated some time ago. Unfortunately, rather than using best practices, this outbreak in Wuhan was covered up.
Such comments by senior U.S. officials have infuriated the Chinese government. Its foreign ministry had this to say.
We urge that U.S. official to respect objective facts and international public opinion and spend time on preventing and controlling the epidemic and strengthening relevant cooperation rather than attacking, slandering, or complaining about others.
U.S. officials have been pushing back against conspiracy theories floating around the internet and Chinese media that the coronavirus is an American bioweapon.
So we could have people in the United States dying for what appears to be influenza when in fact it could be the coronavirus or COVID-19.
Some cases have been actually diagnosed that way in the United States today.
That testimony to Congress by the director of the Centers for Disease Control was then shared by a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman to support the theory that the virus may have originated in the United States. Beijing has also pushed the narrative that the virus was brought to China by the U.S. military. Nearly 250 members of the U.S. military were in Wuhan in October last year, along with athletes from 100 other nations, to take part in the World Military Games. The theory has now been widely circulated by state-aligned media. China's new position on the origins of the coronavirus outbreak appears to contradict its own assessment from January.
From what we can see now, the origin is the wild animals sold in the seafood market.
With the number of new cases on the decline in Hubei province, Beijing appears to have taken control of the outbreak. But it also wants to make sure the world doesn't blame China for one of the worst health crises in a decade. Andrew Chappelle.
Now, here's the thing. So the reason why the U.S. started pushing the line was it started in the Wuhan factory is because China, before the U.S. said that, said, listen, this didn't come from us. This came from y'all military that's over here. They said that months ago, but that got swept under the rug. So, as most of you guys know, no nation trusts America. Only here we're fooled by what they say by our media. But all the other nations, no other nation trusts America. They deal with America because they have to, because America's a superpower, and that's where the money's coming from. But as far as trusting them, the rest of the world believes it was something fishy from the beginning. The U.S. must have did that. Why is that? Because Russia's not the main problem for the U.S. no more. The USSR, Soviet Union, whatever you want to call them now, right? They're still the same. The problem that the U.S. have is China, because China makes everything. They can make it cheaply, and all goods and things like that is coming from China. China, their version of the stock market is soaring, and they are starting to overtake the U.S. in every area. So it is very plausible that the U.S. got to bring them down, right? And we're going to touch on that because then nation rise against nation. That's the part of the signs that I'm hitting on today, all right? So you got China saying this came from the U.S. So the U.S. got to combat that and say, no, this started in y'all factory over there. Where it came from, who actually started, we may never know. But I do know that the Lord got this all under control. So watch this right here. Next video.
Instructing my administration to halt funding of the World Health Organization while a review is conducted to assess.
Real quick. The WHO, if you notice the first video, he was talking about the WHO, which is the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization is a group of medical personnel, doctors, and they're all different areas, right? They come together and they look at different viruses and different things like that to see what pandemics or epidemics will affect the world and how they can combat it. That's the World Health Organization. It's kind of like the European Union or NATO or something like that. You have people from all nations in this. They all put money in towards it to help fund it, so forth and so on. So now Trump is going to blame the World Health Organization. Watch this.
Today I'm instructing my administration to halt funding of the World Health Organization while a review is conducted to assess the World Health Organization's role in severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of the coronavirus. American taxpayers provide between $400 million and $500 million per year to the WHO. In contrast, China contributes roughly $40 million a year, and even less. As the organization's leading sponsor, the United States has a duty to insist on full accountability. With the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have deep concerns whether America's generosity has been put to the best use possible. The reality is that the WHO failed to adequately obtain, vet, and share information in a timely and transparent fashion. Had the WHO done its job to get medical experts into China to objectively assess the situation on the ground and to call out China's lack of transparency, the outbreak could have been contained at its source with very little death, and certainly very little death by comparison. This would have saved thousands of lives and avoided worldwide economic damage. Instead, the WHO willingly took China's assurances to face value, and they took it just at face value, and defended the actions of the Chinese government, even praising China. The world depends on the WHO to work with countries to ensure that accurate information about international health threats is shared in a timely manner. And if it's not, to independently tell the world the truth about what is happening. The WHO failed in this basic duty. The delays the WHO experienced in declaring a public health emergency cost valuable time, tremendous amounts of time. More time was lost in the delay it took to get a team of international experts in to examine the outbreak, which we wanted to do, which they should have done. The inability of the WHO to obtain virus samples to this date has deprived the scientific community of essential data.
Now, you catch that? Now Trump is blaming the World Health Organization. All right? Trump is blaming the World Health Organization, saying that they helped China cover this up. Now listen, here's the thing that you guys got to understand. When Trump is saying these statements, you cannot make a statement like this without having some facts to back it up. All right? Because now you're dealing with the world, every country saying, okay, look, U.S. is saying this and China's saying that. You got to pick a side. Like, where do you stand on this? Right. So you cannot make a statement like out there saying, well, we think this might be it or that, unless you have some evidence, some facts to back it up. So understand that right there. Now, we may think, okay, well, this is the U.S. and this is China going back and forth blaming each other, right? Well, let's look at something. I want to look at the allies of these countries, all right? So let's see if it's just the U.S. and China. Let's see who's with who. So I forgot which one I gave you first, but okay, we're going with China, okay. So let's look at who are the allies and enemies of China, all right? Because it's not just the U.S. versus China on this right here. Okay, each country have allies. So let's scroll down. It's going to make it smaller. Okay. Yeah. All right.
China has hostile relations with a few countries. Most of these involve territorial disputes like the 9-dash line.
Now, this is an article from 2018, right? This is the latest one I could find as far as their allies. So some of this have changed, all right?
The following are a few nations hostile to the Chinese.
Just scroll down. You see Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, Philippines, Taiwan. They have some hostile relationship with China, all right? Let's,
Japan.
You see that? Japan, India, South Korea.
U.S.
All right, U.S., all right? Now, read about the U.S. right there real quick.
U.S. Washington sees China as a business rival, even though both these countries conduct a large amount of trade with each other.
Now, so that's a business rival. Now, what's the one way to hurt Esau the most? It's through his pockets.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So China's their biggest rival. So the U.S. deal with China because they have to. It's a mutual beneficial relationship between both countries. But the U.S. want to keep that relationship as long as the U.S. is on top. If the roles are reversed, then the U.S. can't work with that. Now, we're going to read some more about who their allies are, but I want y'all to think about this. Here's what everybody's forgetting. Before this virus, who benefits the most from this virus, this pandemic? I want y'all to think about that. Who benefits the most? Just think about it for a second. I know we don't have mics in here or whatever. Well, let's ask somebody online. Who benefits the most from this pandemic? I want somebody online. Who benefits the most? Online. Who we got? Officer Hezekiah. Who benefits the most?
I'm going to say pharmaceutical companies with vaccine.
Okay, yes. Financially, these companies, I want to know, like, either country or individual. Who benefits the most from this?
Told you a cold. I would say China, sir.
You think China benefits the most from this? Okay. Who else? Anybody else?
Hey, officer, can I ask why he thinks China?
Okay, yeah. Why you think China? Why you think China?
Because after all this is said and done, China can make new negotiations with America and make the stakes higher.
Yeah, that's true. Their stock markets have rebounded already. So China's already starting to make money now. But that's not the answer. Not that you're wrong. That's not the answer I'm looking for. And the reason why I'm saying this is everybody's forgetting this right here. Who benefits the most from this? Who else? Anybody else got an idea? One more before I say who I believe is benefiting the most.
Brother Chris?
Yes, go ahead, Brother Chris.
I say the USA because they're Babylon the Great, and everybody in America kind of just goes with what America says, kind of blind sheep.
That's a good answer, the U.S. But I'm gonna say specifically, guess who benefits the most from this? President Trump. Why President Trump?
Right.
Think about this. Back in October, before this really started taking off, October, November, December, or even you want to go to December. What was Trump battling? Y'all remember?
Yeah,
impeachment. It was everyday news.
Yep.
Trying to get rid of Trump, trying to get rid of him. So much so now we all knew. Everybody knew he wasn't. Now he's impeached, but he's not removed from office, right? Which is the same thing happened to Clinton. He was impeached, but not removed from office. That was never going to go through. But Trump approval rating and everything was so low that I could have ran against him and probably ran. It could have won the race, right? So that's why you had a record number of Democrats fighting to go against Trump, because they knew whoever we throw out there is going to win. That's how bad a shape Trump was in, right? You all remember that now, right?
Hey, officer, also, didn't he plan that bombing in Iraq while he was impeached?
Yes, he did. With Soleimani, right? Yes.
That was the same time.
So all these things has happened now. So then you say, but still, how does Trump benefit from that?
Right.
Well, now who looks like the hero? Trump's blaming China. He's saying the world, we're moving our money from them. We're doing this, we're doing that. And, oh, by the way, you like that $1,200 I sent you?
Damn.
You do, right? All right, I gave you a check. The TV you bought with it is nice, right? Okay.
But he said he put his name. He delayed some people's checks so he can put his name on the check.
So that's why the hashtag, it says the Trump check?
Yes.
Because that's a big hashtag.
So that way when you get the check in the mail,
this came from Trump.
This came from Trump.
Not the United States. No, this Trump.
Trump gave that check.
The pride of his heart, man.
Right?
Damn.
And here's another thing y'all not catching. They're already preparing for when it's time to vote in November, that this virus will come back in the fall. So they're saying that, well, we're going to have to start doing like absentee voting through mail and stuff like that, right? Well, guess what Trump's doing right now? They're making it harder to vote absentee, where you got to have that new license. That most of us don't have,
the real ID,
and different things like that. So who does that wipe out? Because most of us, we do it if we have our job tell us to, but we procrastinate getting the real ID, right? But Esau, they've been doing that. They got their passports. They got all this. So who's going to be voting for him? Who's he blocking? Because he wants to be, reelected again. All these things is working behind the scenes. Not trying to feed into conspiracy theories or nothing like that, but I'm just saying, look who is benefiting from this. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Trump's going to win again, right? He's going to win again. It's locked up for him now. He's going to win again, all right? And how do you get people to like you and to vote for you, put a little money in their pocket, and seem like the hero in a crisis? How many of you guys knew who Mayor Giuliani was before 9/11? You know who he was before 9/11? A few of us may know who he was before 9/11. But most of the world,
I didn't. Yeah.
No, didn't know who he was. Who knew who Mayor Cuomo was before this pandemic right now? Right? Governor. I didn't even know the difference, governor, mayor, whatever. Who knew? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But everybody know who he is now. All right? So when you look like a hero in a crisis, it boosts you up. So right now, Trump looks like a hero to a lot of people, especially put a little money. Remember, a gift do what? We all know what that.
Destroy the heart.
Destroy the heart.
What's that? Isn't that the Batman saying that the hero we never asked for? You know what I'm talking about? Anyways, I forget what it was, but it's something like that. The hero no one asked for.
All right, so we got this going on, right? So now let's look at these. Let's continue to look at these. Now these are the allies, the people that are friendly with China.
Now for Chinese allies, Russia.
Russia, that's an ally for China. Is Russia close with the U.S.? Not at all.
North Korea.
Are we close to North Korea with Kim Jong-un, whatever? Not at all. These are two nations that would love to destroy us. Read on.
Central Asia.
When I say us, I'm talking about the United States, because I ain't a part of that. Come on.
Central Asia.
Africa. Now listen, I want y'all to keep in mind with Africa, okay? Because I'm going to hit this in a minute. Africa. Now, Africa is a huge continent. There's a lot of money there. If you notice, China been pumping a lot of money in Africa to build up bases over in Africa. That's where the money's at. So read that part with Africa.
Africa. China conducts a large amount of trade with many African nations, like Zimbabwe, and has sent military assistance and humanitarian aid to these nations as well.
You think China doing it because they feel sorry for African nations or anything like that? No, they know that's where the money's at. All right? Read on.
South and Central America.
That's right up under us right over here, you know? So China's building these allies with these countries.
Sri Lanka. Bangladesh and Nepal.
Okay, now look at the next one. Isn't this surprising?
EU.
The EU. All right? Now, you think what EU? The United States is in the EU, right? So they're building a relationship with the United States. Okay, we're going to hit that in a second. So these are the allies with China. All right, you see that? These are all nations that we all know can't stand the United States, correct? All right, let's go to the next one. Yes. No, this is the allies of the United States.
Who are the allies and the enemies of the U.S.? The United States allies.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The United States allies. NATO, Albania, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark,
Czech Republic,
Estonia, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Montenegro, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania.
So these are the nations that are supposedly allies, right?
Yeah.
With the United States. Supposedly. This is 2018. Some of this have changed. Supposedly, right? You had a question. What was you saying?
You got a mic.
This one? Over here?
Check.
I just have a question because all of those nations are involved in the EU.
That's why I said pay attention to the EU.
Because, right above it say that
right.
EU was allies with China.
Yes. Most people would think that the WHO, the World Health Organization, because the U.S. spend the most money or give the most money to them, was on the U.S. side. But Donald Trump is attacking the World Health Organization.
Right.
All right. So now you got that. Now watch this. Let's go to the next thing. Now remember, the EU is supposed to be an ally with China. All right. Now watch this. Let's look at the EU. Now we look at the EU, we think it's the 10, right? We think it's the 10, right? But it's more than 10. Let's look at this. Now these are the EU that's supposed to be in bed with China. Watch this.
The 27 member countries of the EU. That's good. Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Czechia.
Now we can look through there. I just want you guys to see something for a second. You see France, you see Germany, right? All these nations were supposedly, right, allies of the United States. Now, what country you don't see in that mix? No, you don't see China, you don't see Russia, but I'm saying think bigger than that. What country you don't see in that right there? You don't see the United States in there. Now, these countries is doing what? Like France and Germany, what are they doing? They're playing both sides. Who can do the most? Whoever got the biggest power, I'm with you. And China started pulling the EU in as being one of their allies. That was unheard of prior to, China really starting in the last 10 years or so, starting to increase, what they give, to other nations and stuff like that. Now, what's not on here, who remembers Brexit? Heard of that? Or y'all forget about the Brexit? The British exit out of what? The EU. So the United Kingdom, right, is no longer in the EU. All right? They left out last January 2019. All right? So the United Kingdom, that was a big topic. I know a lot of us don't pay attention to world news, but the United Kingdom is no longer in the EU. All right? So these are the battle lines that's been set up. All right? These are the battle lines. You see who the allies of China is and the allies of Russia. Now, I think I have, let me see what the next thing is I have for. I don't want that yet. No, I don't want that yet. Let me see something here. Let me see something. It was supposed to be right here. Okay, I don't see it. All right, now, I don't have it on here. I had it set up. I guess I didn't send it to you. But Russia is in bed with China for one reason, because I had the article. I guess I didn't turn it over to you. I'll just paraphrase it right now. Is because without China, Russia cannot be solvent. So if you guys know what that means, solvent means without China, Russia would not be able to pay its bills. Was that on the last article? Okay, pull that one up real quick. We'll show the allies, right? Oh yes, let's go back to the allies of China, because I want y'all to see that part. Sorry about that. The allies of China.
Russia.
Oh, yeah, that's what I want.
Moscow sells Beijing natural resources while China keeps Russia solvent.
Solvent. So I want you to, if you can Google the definition of the word solvent so people see that. So it says China keeps Russia solvent. If you can Google definition of solvent.
Solvent. One. Having assets.
Yes. Having assets
in excess of liability.
I mean, you have more money than you owe, or more money than debt.
Able to pay one's debts.
Able to pay one debt. Now let's go back to that thing where it said about Russia. This is why Russia has to be in bed with China, because without them, they wouldn't be able to pay their bills. They'd be a third world country without China. So they are this is ride or die with China. They have to. So if China goes to war or something like that, they have to join China. There's no other option. All right? So y'all can see the battle lines is being drawn, But you think this is just America and China going back and forth. It's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes that y'all don't see. All right? Now, let's get back to some more scriptures. Yes, Mike.
It's funny you said that, officer, because remember the investigation that Russia had Trump under?
Yes.
Of all the stuff that
No, it was the other way around. Because they said Russia helped Trump get in office.
Right.
Yes.
It was some craziness that was going on there.
Oh, yes. Yes.
For that to happen, and then for China, for them to have to rely on China, and knowing that China's trying to take over, it's like a triangle love affair right there.
You know what it is? It's the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And that enemies switch, it's like playing, what is that game where the musical chairs?
Oh, right.
That's what it's like right now.
Right.
All right? But that's what's going on. Because, see, this is what happens behind the scenes when you just look, it's just America and China going back and forth. It's deeper than that. You got battle lines being drawn. So this is that, keep in mind the theme of this is nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom. All right. It's just not going to be all of a sudden every country's throwing rocks at each other. That's not. It's going to be battle lines drawn, and then people are going to have to choose sides, and then it's just going to be a big mess. All right. So now let's go to. Okay. Let's go to scriptures. Let's go to Luke 21. Let's go to Luke 21, and we're going to start at verse 29, and we're going to go all the way to 37.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 21 and verse 29. And he spake to them a parable. Behold, the fig tree and all the trees, when they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand.
So this is the Lord going into signs right here, right? Because he's like, man, I'm painting a picture, and y'all just don't get it. He's like, look outside. See that fig tree? How you know it's summertime? Because you're starting to see it's blooming, right?
Right.
That's a sign. I have signs showing in front of you, but you're not getting it.
That's heavy.
Right? Read on.
So likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand.
So when you see all these things coming on, you see wars, rumors of wars, and you paying attention, and you're a watchman, you know, like we're supposed to be, you see all this, you're like, oh, shoot, this is the Lord. I mean, the time is coming. This is the beginning of sorrows. Like, we getting ready to get in this thing.
Right.
Not thinking, oh, this ain't the one that the Lord's talking about. This is just small. No, these are all signs. But if you got to actually see a physical tree to know that it's summertime, you're going to be lost. Because at that point, that's when you're the same person that's got to see the rain fall down and then say, okay, no, I'm ready now. It's too late, you know? Read on.
Verily, I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled.
So he's saying, look, this generation, now this goes into regeneration, but I'm not going to touch that part of it, but all this has to be fulfilled. Read on.
Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. And take heed to yourselves.
So he's saying, look, my word will stand. Everything I said will come to fruition. All right. Now, this is not talking about heaven, actual heaven passing away. There's different heavens. But anyway, that's not the point I want to get into. Read on.
And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with
surfeiting,
and
partying and drinking,
and drunkenness. And cares of this life.
So he's saying, take heed. Don't get wrapped up in this world. You got that Trump check, and now you're buying a TV. Now you're putting rims on your car. You're putting stereos in it. Now, that's what we did in my day. I don't know what they buy. Video game, whatever. Right? He's saying, take heed that you don't get caught up in those type of things. All right? We got to look at what's going on. Understand that, look, this is serious business that's going on. If you ain't right, you're going to get left behind. Come on.
And so that day come unto you unawares.
Because if you're not paying attention to the signs, if you actually got to see a fig tree, the day of me return is going to come to you unaware. And it's going to be a bad day for you. Read on.
For as a snare shall it come on all, For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth.
Because as a snare, everybody's not paying attention to this. You know, a lot of our people wrapped up like this is no big deal. We're going to come back to normal, everything else, and it's going to come up to them unaware. It's a snare to them. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, the world as you knew it prior to this pandemic will never be the same.
No.
All right? This world will not get back to the way it was. All right? Are you going to go to a restaurant right now when it's open back up? Are you going to go to a ball game? Are you going to go to a concert? Now, we shouldn't be doing those things anyway, right?
Right.
But the rest of the world, you think they happy, ready to go do that when jobs, 5.5 million people apply for unemployment recently. All right? And we're going to touch more into that in a second later in this class. So, yes.
I was going to say, you have a lot of people in the world, like Christians and these pastors and stuff like that, they're praying for this stuff to go away.
Yes.
As much as they want quote unquote Jesus to come back, they're praying for these things to go away.
So they're hurting. The Christian churches are hurting right now worse than they ever hurt before, because the money that's been coming in, that's what they live off of. So when they're not able to collect tithes right now and offering, they don't have no money. These ministers don't have a job. Now, your Creflos and them, they're good, crazy. Right? They're good. They got money.
Right.
And I'm not saying good is right with God, but I'm saying as far as money-wise, they're good. But I'm talking about your mom and pop ministers on the, the corners and stuff like that, these churches, they're ready to fold. No money's coming in.
Hey, officer, you might know who this pastor is, but there's a pastor trying to entice his people to give them their stimulus check.
I seen where somebody said, I see. Did you post the article? Somebody posted the article, and then the minister said, my wife and myself, we're donating our whole check to the church. You idiot! You're the church. You put the money in one. You're taking out the left hand and putting your right hand. You think we're stupid enough to not to know that?
Hey, nice try. Nice try.
He said, we're donating all ours to the church. But even when I was a kid, when I was going to church, I guess pastor back in the day, he would take a tithing envelope when the baskets come around and put his envelope in there. And I would think as a kid, like, wait a minute. When they get done collecting that money, it goes to the back of the church, and he go back there too. He's just he's putting his own money in his own pocket. Like that. Right. Even as a kid, I was like, that didn't make sense to me. So, but anyway.
That's funny.
They are people from. I don't want to get on that topic. Let's get back to where we was at. Where we at now?
Verse 36.
Okay, verse 36. It snares to them, right? Yes. Come on.
Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy.
So this is Christ saying, I have to cut you off. This is Christ saying, watch, be prepared, because all these things is happening, and people are just not catching it. Come on.
That ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things.
Hey, and listen, check this out. When you say, well, I'm catching, I know I'm good, I got this. I'm going to show you that disciples wasn't watching too later in the class. Watch this. I'm going to hit you with something heavy. Come on.
That ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man.
So you got to watch so you can be counted worthy to escape these things, right? You got to be counted worthy. What verse you at?
Verse 37.
Did you finish 37?
Not yet, sir.
Okay, come on.
And in the daytime he was teaching in the temple, and at night he went out and abode in the mount that he called the Mount of Olives.
All right, so Christ did all this teaching, and then he departed and went to the Mount Olives. Remember that, because we're going to come back to this. Remember I told you I'm going to hit you with something heavy at the end. All right, now let's go to 1 Peter's. I want 1 Peter's 4, 7 through 19.
This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 4 and verse 7. But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober, and watch unto prayer.
Now, that doesn't mean not to have a drink. This is saying be in your right mind. You know what I'm saying? Be in your right mind and be ready for everything that's going to be happening, right? Be in your right mind. Come on.
And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves.
Have love for the brother and love for the sisters, you know. Have charity. Come on.
For charity.
Because during this time, there's going to be so much different things going on that I may need something from you, and I need that charity from you, and maybe vice versa or somebody else. So you got to have that charity. You're going to need somebody during this time. We're going to need one another during all these times of sorrow.
Right.
All right?
For charity shall cover the multitude of sins.
Mm-hmm.
Use hospitality.
So look, if you got a lot of issues going on, have a lot of charity. It covers the multitude of sins, all right? You know, not to say that, hey, you know what, if I just show love to the brother, I keep sinning. No. Get yourself right.
Yeah, it's keep
but this is this is still the start of it, though. All right.
Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God.
So right now, don't start going off of what you think might be or what this just use the Bible. The Bible will tell you everything that's going on. Remember, the Lord declares the end from the beginning. It's just up to us to decipher the signs that we're seeing, right? So use this word. You know, if you're going to speak on this, use the scriptures. Come on.
If any man minister, let him do it as the ability which God giveth.
Yeah, so if you ain't been studying and stuff like that, don't go out there saying, I got the answer, I know what's going on. Nah, just sit back and listen. All right?
That God in all things may be glorified through Jesus Christ.
And that's what this is all about. You know, we glorify God when Christ passed over to set us free from Egypt. Everything that he did, we glorify him and all that so you can see his power. Come on.
To whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Behold, think it not strange concerning the fiery trials, which is to try you.
Beloved, think it not strange.
Beloved. As though some strange thing happened unto you.
So when you start saying like, damn, man, I know my cousin's friend died of coronavirus, and man, it's hitting home now. Man, don't think it's strange. You know, these are the things that's going to happen. It may happen to some of us. Some of us in the body did catch it, you know. But you can't think it's strange. This is just, these are the things that has to happen. Read on.
But rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy.
But Christ had to suffer. So if Christ had to suffer, what makes you think you're going to walk through this life unscathed? You know, like nothing's ever going to happen to you, like you're just going to just walk into the kingdom. No, we got to suffer too. You know, we follow his footstep. You know, come on.
If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye, for the Spirit of glory and of God resteth upon you.
So when those things come, be happy. Like, you know what? I'm living the scriptures. The same thing happened to Christ is happening to me. That lets me know I'm on the right track. You know what I'm saying? Not that you're happy that you're going through different trials and tribulations, but you rejoice in knowing that, look, I'm the same thing Christ went through. I had to go through. I'm a partaker in this as well. You know? Come on.
On their part, he is evil spoken of. But on your part, he is glorified.
You know, Deacon Asaph showed a video last night where Mayor Cuomo, was the Governor Cuomo? Sorry. He said, because the numbers are going down in New York, I don't know if you guys watched Friday Night Raw last night. He said, I seen the video, he showed the video, where Governor Cuomo said it wasn't God, it wasn't some faith healing, it was us. We did it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, He said, like, when I heard that, it was so shocking. Like, I mean, I'm like, oh, man, the pomp of Esau is out of this world. Like, he said, and he doubled down and said it again. He said, it's not this, God didn't do this. You know, what, no higher power and all this. It was us. I said, oh.
Trump said the same thing
Whoa.
about the virus itself, being if it's an act of God.
He said, no act of God.
No act of God.
But the back of the money says what? On that Trump check. In God we trust. Man, okay. All right. So I'm like, they bold enough to say that. I'd never heard they said it like that. Oh, okay.
Man.
Wow, Esau. Like,
What's funny is Como, his brother actually got it.
yes,
Yeah.
his brother got
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yes,
his brother
yes.
got it.
Yep.
Hey, I was gonna
The
say
news anchor guy. I think he's on CNN. Yeah.
I was gonna say that's that Sirach 12:10 where it says his iron rusted.
Never trust thine enemy?
He's going back to his that iron that the rust is starting to come back out.
Oh, man.
You're starting to
Yeah.
see the rust.
Yeah,
You rusty,
yeah.
bruh.
Man, oh man. What verse we at?
Verse 15.
We going all the way to 19.
Yes, sir. But let none of you suffer as a murderer or as a thief.
You know, and that doesn't go into, obviously you shouldn't be committing murder, but that murder is hating your brother, right? Because if you hate your brother, you're a murderer. So don't be in this time right now trying to get yourself right, but yet you got hatred for your brothers and sisters. Come on.
Or as a thief. Or as an evildoer. Or as a busybody in other man's matters.
So right now, mind your own business, basically, and if you're going to do anything, just spread this truth. But get yourself right and spread this truth. Read on.
Yet, if any man suffer as a Christian,
a true follower of Christ, not Christianity. Come on.
Let him not be ashamed.
Don't be ashamed. Let's say you one of the ones that fell sick to the COVID-19. Don't be ashamed like, oh, I must be with. No, this is how it played out. You know, the disciples, got killed. Different things. So punishment comes in different forms. Just how it is. So don't be ashamed if you suffer. You fall victim to something, whether it's this or famine or lost your job, whatever it happens. Read on.
But let him glorify God on this behalf.
But give God all the praise. And like, you know what? I know that through all this going on, you got my back.
For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God.
Where?
At the house of God.
With Esau?
At the house of God.
Ishmael?
At the house of God.
So what did he say? Judgment. All these things is going on. Remember, this is the beginning of sorrows. He said it has to start where? With us. Forget the other nations. You know what I'm saying? This is going to start with us. The wicked of our people and some of the righteous of our people. But it's starting with us. All right? Read on.
And if it be first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel
So
of
if
God?
we're suffering these things right now, and it seems real bad, right? Imagine the punishment of those that is in wickedness. You know what I'm saying? Imagine that if God had said, look, I'm punishing y'all first. And it seems bad. It seems bad. May lose your job, house, may fall sick to this, whatever, and that's a terrible thing. But he's saying, just imagine what it's going to be like for those that is wicked as hell, or of other nations. Just imagine that. All right, read on.
And if the righteous scarcely be saved.
That's why, he's saying, now look, if the righteous, now what does it take to be righteous? This is a man, I want y'all to think about this. To be righteous, this is a man or woman that's keeping the commandments, right? This is somebody that's keeping the commandments. That's a hearer and a doer of the word. So he's saying, if the righteous, come on.
And if the righteous scarcely be saved.
Scarcely, if you look at the definition, that means barely by the smallest margin, right? By the smallest possible margin. That's what scarcely means. So if the righteous man or woman that's keeping the commandments, right? That's a hearer and a doer of the word. If that particular person barely by the smallest margin, what?
Be saved.
Be saved.
Where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear?
Where shall the godly and the sinner appear? Where is that person that's lukewarm, where he says, I'll spit you out my mouth? Yeah, you keep the commandments, you got your fringes on, but meanwhile, you slip up and eat some pork from time to time, or you go visit your family on Thanksgiving, you doing a little this, doing all that, but, you showing up on the Sabbath day, you're about 90% right, you got a little 10% wrong in you. He's saying that particular person, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to make it. He's saying the righteous is scarcely be saved. So I want you to read that verse right there. Instead of saying righteous, I want you to say Bishop Nathaniel instead of saying the word righteous. Because we all follow under his leadership, right? We We trust that Bishop McDaniel is leading us in the right direction, giving us the right example to follow for us to, make it to the kingdom, right? We follow his leadership, right? From the colors we wear to the organization, everything is from Bishop McDaniel. So read that verse again with his name instead of righteous.
And if Bishop Nathaniel scarcely be saved,
because we assume he's righteous, right? Read on.
Where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear?
So what does that mean for me and you if we half-assing it? Put it in perspective, don't it? Or if you don't want to use Bishop McDaniel, put Moses' name there.
And if Moses scarcely be saved.
Okay, let's put Peter there.
If Peter scarcely be saved.
Let's put Paul there.
If Paul scarcely be saved.
Okay, read on.
Where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear?
Where does that put everybody else? How you stack up to them? How you stack up to them? You confident now? You feel good?
I think he knocked everyone off their high horse right now.
All right.
So. If they were on one.
All right, read on.
Verse 19. Wherefore, let them that suffer according to the will of God commit the keeping.
So if you suffer keeping these commandments, the will of God is keeping the commandments, right? So if you suffer keeping the will of God, the commandments, come on.
Of God committeth the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing.
Keeping the commandments.
As unto a faithful creator.
Because we got to be faithful to our creator. So keep these commandments. So if you got some BS in you, you ain't all the way right, man. You need to fix those things. Because the Lord is telling you, listen, the righteous man, the righteous woman, they are barely saved. Barely. Scarcely. By the smallest margin. So you got to make sure that you're right. You pay attention to these signs. This should be fuel to your fire to get right. So you don't hit the real field of fire, all right? Get yourself right. All right, let's go to Hebrews 12.
What verse, sir?
1 through 4. Hebrews
Yes,
12, 1 through 4.
This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 12 and verse 1. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with such a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us.
See, that sin easily besets us. It's easy to get that. He didn't say shalom to me. Or we came in as a group and I was the last one he said shalom to. Or why I'm always the one that got to do the cleaning up. Why am I the last one to do this? It's easy to get things in you. Man, I've been a soldier for so long. I've been an officer for so long. I never got moved up. It's easy to let little things like that beset you and get right back into sin and start thinking evil of a brother or sister.
Right.
It's so easy to let things like that get you out the spirit. So the Lord is saying we're compassed with all this wickedness, all this sin. But read on.
And
lay aside. I want to let us.
Yes, sir. Let us lay aside every weight.
Let all that little stuff go. Let it go. That's too small. How would you like to miss the kingdom because it was one person you couldn't quite get along with and you had that hatred for that brother or that sister? But everything else you did good. That's a waste. You know what I'm saying? Let all that stuff go. Let's say it's a sin you just can't get over lust, right? You just can't control your eyes when it comes to women. You going to miss the kingdom behind these plastic-made women nowadays? You know what I'm saying? These she-males and everything else? Or say it's the other way around. You just can't take your eyes off of certain men. You're going to miss this, kingdom over some, funky, sweaty, musty man? You know what I'm saying? Whatever those sins, whatever those issues may have, let that go. Let that weight go because you don't want to miss the kingdom for something so small.
Hey, officer, if I may add to that, right now we're in a condition where it's easy to be slothful.
It's very easy to be slothful right now. We're not having the Camp 101 like we used to, the Men of Valors. So now you have these habits, you're developing bad habits. You're not studying as much. I get to it later. I'm chill. All that. This is the time to be turning it up, not to be ratcheting it down. Read on.
Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us.
You know what? The running with patience is this right here. Quick story. I remember I used to work at the high school. This is before the truth, and I was in coaching and stuff, and I was coaching track and field at one point, and we had this runner where he ran the mile.
Okay.
And he was a troubled kid, and they got him in the track just to kind of, give him something to do, burn off some energy. And every time he would come to the home section, they would cheer like, yeah, his name was Andrew. Drew, go Drew. And he would run as hard as he can, and then 10 yards later, he huffing and puffing. This is during the mile, so every lap he would run as hard as he can for like 10 yards, and then, he would burn himself out.
Right.
So by the time the last lap come, he getting lapped, he in last place, he almost walking, I think one time he even actually walked, wow. And this is what, the exact opposite of what we should be doing, and it's true. We got a long ways to go, right? This is a long race. Don't just jump out like a shooting star and go as hard as you can, and then you burn yourself out to where you got nothing left to give. This is a race. Run it with patience. Yes, we're running, right? We're winning this race, but don't burn yourself out. You know what I mean? Going harder, doing things that you just can't do and can't keep up. Right, run this race. Pace yourself. Run this race with the pace. Pace yourself. Read on.
Verse 2. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith.
How was Christ patient? You know what I'm saying? Christ could have came day one. Listen, you're going to die. You're going to get your head cut off. You're going to do this. No, he didn't do that. He was patient with them. Look, teaching them step by step, going through things, saying things multiple times so they can get it. Be a watchman. Take heed. So forth and so. He was patient. He ran his race with patience. We got to follow his example. Come on.
Who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross.
So he's saying, look, this cross, Christ knew exactly the type of pain he was going to be going through, the punishment. He knew exactly, but guess what? He said, I'm looking at the joy ahead of me, what I got coming, the kingdom. I got this, I got that. I'll gladly go through this punishment right now because I see what's ahead of me, right? We got to be the same way. I'll gladly go through a pestilence. I'll gladly go through a famine. If I have to lose a job, if I have to lose a wife, if I have to lose a husband, I'll gladly go through that because I see the goal in front of me right there. I see the gift in front of me. We got to have that same mindset. Come on.
Despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God.
Read on.
For consider him that endure such contradiction of sinners.
Because he had the world against him. Everybody's against him. He committed no sin. The one man that committed no sin, he had the world against him. And it's the contradiction is, you're full of sin and you judging me, telling me how I'm wrong when I'm right, and y'all put me to death. Right. The contradiction of that. Read on.
Contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your mind.
Because if you start thinking of how hard it's going to be with all the issues that's going to be coming to us in this world, you could faint and lose, sight of the goal and be like, man, this is too much for me to bear. Why do you think people have left the truth? They missed the world. Same thing with Lot's wife. She looked back. She missed it. We can't be like that. We got to look at those examples and say, look, I'm not following that. I'm following an example that Christ gave. He ran his race with patience. Come on.
Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin.
So as long as you haven't died, as long as you haven't been put to death or stabbed and shot up right there, you got nothing to complain about. Because Christ did. Christ was put to death. All right?
That's the end of verse 4, sir.
That's the end of verse 4. Let's go to Matthew. Wait, let me see where we at. Let's go to... Yes. Let's go to Matthew 24, 1 through 3. I'm going to speed up here.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 1.
Give me just a second here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple.
So now remember, we read this at the beginning of the class, right? But we read it from whose account? We read it in Matthew, right? Right? We read it in Matthew, right? So watch this.
And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us.
Who came to him?
Disciples came unto him privately, saying.
The disciples came to him privately, saying what?
Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming? And what of the end of the world? And of the end of the world, excuse me. That's the end of verse 3, sir.
Okay, so now we see that these Christ is talking to him and saying, look, this end is coming. I'm going to destroy this place. Nothing's going to stand. And so the disciples go to him after he goes to the Mount Olives, like, okay, what do you mean by that, right? Now, I want to hammer that home because it said the disciples came to him. All right, now watch this. Let's go to Mark. Let's go to Mark chapter 13. Check this out. Now, that was from Matthew's perspective of what was said, right?
Sir.
Now, let's go to Mark's perspective of what was said. 13, and we're going to read 1 through 8.
This is the book of Mark, chapter 13 and verse 1. And as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples said unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here? And Jesus answered, said unto them, Seest thou these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives.
So remember, this is the same thing we just read in Matthew, right? The same thing. Watch this.
Over against the temple, Peter and James. And
who? Let's go slow on this.
Peter. And James. And John. And Andrew. Asked him privately.
But Matthew said the disciples asked him privately. But it wasn't all the disciples. Because the way he wrote it, you're thinking all the disciples went to him and asked him privately, right? That's what you're thinking. But when you get the details of who actually went, was who? Read it again.
Peter. And James. And John. And Andrew.
4. What happened to the other 8 disciples? What happened? What happened to them? Okay, we'll get to that. Read on.
Ask him privately. Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled?
Let me tell you what happened to the other 8 disciples. They heard Christ say, oh yeah, this building's going to be destroyed and everything else. And they was like, yep, this building's going to be destroyed. And that was the end of it for them. Okay. But the other 4 disciples are like, well, what did he mean by that? Let's go talk to him. Because I got to get some more info on that. It's the same thing that's happening right now. For the past few weeks, IUIC been going on pestilence, going on all these different signs of the time. And some of us is like, okay, we really looking like, what are they talking about? What's going to happen? It's the end times. But then you got a lot of us, the overwhelming majority, 8 out of the 12, was like, oh, end times. Okay, honey, we going to get that TV with that truck money, or what we going to do? Are we ready to go? Some people still ain't paying attention to the signs. Some is, some ain't. That's why I told you earlier. I said you're going to see some of the disciples was like trying to really figure out what's going on. And some just was like, okay, end times, I got it. All right, I'll be prepared. And then just went on right back to their regular business. Not saying that they was in sin. I'm just saying that was enough for them. Okay, it's going to be blowed up. Okay. But the other disciples to know, how is it going to be blowed up? What's the signs? What's this? What's that? What do you mean? Read on.
Verse 5. And Jesus answering them began to say, Take heed lest any man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things must needs be.
But all these things must happen. So I'm going to speed along right here, because we read this is the same account right here, right?
Yes, sir.
But I wanted to get to which disciples actually went to Christ, because not all of them did, right? Only 4 of them went to him to get more information. Now, let's watch this right here. Let's go to Matthew 16. So I told you I'm going to hit you with something heavy, right? Let me hit you with something heavy right now. Let me see if y'all get it. Matthew 16, and let's read 1 through 4.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 16 and verse 1. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting desired him that he would show them a sign from heaven.
So the Sadducees, Pharisees, like, look, show us a sign from heaven. I got to see a sign. Read on.
He answered and said unto them, When it is evening, ye say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red.
So you say, you look outside at evening time, and you see the clouds out there. You know, the clouds get dark, and you'd be like, okay, the weather's fair or whatever, or it's going to rain, because you could look and tell by the way the clouds look, right? So he's saying you actually see the clouds, and they're like, okay, all right, I see it may rain or it may not rain. Read on.
And in the morning, it will be foul weather today.
Because those clouds, they're getting thicker, darker. I can see, yep, it's going to rain. Something's going to happen, right? We see that now in today's time. You look outside. How many of you guys look outside in the morning and see what the weather may be before you actually check the weather? Oh, it's going to be a good day today. You know what I'm saying? That's what this happened. So this is the sign that he's showing them that y'all see this every day, right? Read on.
For the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern.
So Christ called them hypocrites.
Ye can discern the face of the sky, but ye not discern the signs of the times.
He said, but you can't understand the signs of the time. You could tell by the sign of the clouds and everything else if it's going to rain or not. But all these signs, famine, I keep telling you over and over again that's going to happen, you know, you can't discern that. You know, you just don't get it. You know what I'm saying? You want to actually touch it, feel it, see it. You know, but it's right in front of your face. You still don't get it. Read on. Watch this, though. Here's the part that I'm going to hit you with something heavy right now. Watch this.
A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign.
Y'all seeking after a new sign, something. Show me something. Show me something. Meanwhile, you don't see the wars popping off. You don't see the rumors of wars. You don't see the famine. You don't see all that. You don't see the sign? That's why you're a hypocrite. Read on.
And there shall no sign be given.
He said, I'm not going to give you no sign
unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas.
He says, but I give you the sign of the prophet Jonas, which is who? Jonah, right? Read on.
And left them and departed.
What do you think they was thinking? Jonah? Jonah died a long time ago. Jonah? No, what the hell? What does that mean? What do you mean I'm going to give you the sign of Jonah? I don't get it. Y'all get what that mean? What does that mean? I'm going to give you the sign of Jonah. What does that mean? Who knows? Who knows? Who got the precept for that? Okay, this was the time. You don't got it.
I know what it is. I just don't remember what.
Okay, what is
it? That he would be in the earth 3 days and 3 nights.
Okay, yeah, but that's not what I want.
Okay,
because I'm going to show you what I want. All right.
Real quick, that was Officer Mattathias, for those who don't know online. Should probably be saying their names.
Okay, that was Officer Mattathias,
Yeah.
yes. I'm going to show you, interest of time, because class is going to start early, so I'm going to show you interest of time, all right? So that's not what I want. Let's go to, I'm going to show you, I'm going to precept it for you, all right? So I told you I'm going to hit you something heavy. So I want you to think, read that last verse one more time.
Yes,
read that
sir.
last verse one more time, because this is heavy right here.
Matthew chapter 16 and verse 4. A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. And there shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas.
He said, that's the only sign I'm giving you is the sign of the prophet Jonas, or Jonah. Now watch this. This is heavy right here. Watch. Go to Luke 11, and we want verse 29 through 32. Watch this.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 11 and verse 29. And when the people were gathered thick together, he began to say.
So this is the same account of what just happened, right? This is the same account of what just happened. People were thick. There's a whole bunch of people around. Come on.
This is an evil generation. They seek a sign, and there shall no sign be given it, but the sign of Jonas the prophet.
Now remember, Matthew's account was, he said Pharisees and Sadducees were there, right? But now Luke is saying the people gather. Why do you say that? Because it wasn't just Pharisees and Sadducees there. It was regular people there too, but they had a side. It was either on the Pharisee side or the Sadducee side, all right? So we're getting a little bit more detail right now. So read that last part again.
This is an evil generation. They seek a sign, and there shall no sign be given it, but the sign of Jonas the prophet.
So this is going into, okay, so he said, I'm leaving you with the sign of Jonas. Now we're going to understand, what does he mean by that? Read on.
For as Jonas was a sign unto the Nivianites.
So Jonah was a sign unto who?
Nivianites.
So what was he supposed to do? What was Jonah supposed to do, right? What was his original charge from the Lord? To what? To go to Nineveh and do what? Prophesy and sigh against the great city of Nineveh. But he went to where? Tarsus, right? He was in the well for the 3 days. That's what you're getting to, right? The belly of the great fish for 3 days, right? But after he came out of that, what did the prophet Jonah do? Went where? He went to Nineveh, and what did he do? He prophesied against that great city, right? Okay, now let's start. That's why I said this is heavy. What he said, I'm only going to leave you with the sign of Jonah. I see you thinking, Officer Elijah Malott. I see you thinking. I'm going to show you. Okay, read on.
So shall also the Son of Man be to this generation.
He says, so shall the Son of Man be to this generation. So Christ was prophesying during that time, right? All right, watch this.
Verse 31. The queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with the men of this generation and condemn them.
Who's the queen of the south? This is remember when she went to go visit King Solomon to find out how all his stuff was lined up? All right, you can find out about that in 1 Kings 10. All right, read on.
For she came from the utmost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, a greater than Solomon is here.
Who is he speaking of? Himself. But they didn't get that. All right. But you saying you want a sign. I am the sign, is what he's saying. All right. But watch this. It's going to get heavier.
The men of Nineveh shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it. For they repent at the preaching.
They did what? Now here's the key part. Here's what I said. This is the heavy part. They what?
For they repented.
They repented.
At the preaching of Jonas.
They repented at the preaching of Jonas.
And behold, a greater than Jonas is here.
So what's the greatest sign during this time? The Israelites doing what? Preaching around the world, condemning it. You must repent. You must keep the commandments. He said, I'm leaving you with the sign of Jonah. They didn't get it. So guess what's happening right now? What's the greatest sign that's happening? Yes, you got the rumors of wars. You got the pestilence going on. You got famine. You got all this. But the greatest sign of it all is I got thousands of Jonases around the world prophesying, saying the same thing Jonah was saying. But guess what? You don't see the sign. You don't see the sign. You don't see it. All right? Watch this. Watch this. I'm going to prove it. Let's go to Matthew 24 again. Matthew 24, and let's go to verse 14.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 13.
14.
14. And this gospel of the kingdom.
So, and this gospel of the kingdom
shall be preached.
It has to be preached. Remember, this is chapter 24. This is going into all the signs of the end times, right? So he says, this gospel of all the signs that I've told you about the wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes, you name it, is not going to come to an end till what? And this gospel?
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness.
For a witness.
Unto the nations.
And
unto
all nations.
Unto all nations.
Come on.
And then shall the end come.
That's why he said, I'm going to leave you with the prophet Jonah. That's the last sign you're going to get. Figure it out. For those who get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. And then Christ walked off. All right? So guess what? That's what's happening right now. That's why you see us in Africa. You see us in all these different countries. We're all the prophet Jonah right now, spreading this gospel right now. And the end's not going to come to fruition till when? It's not going to happen till when? Yes, it's rumors of wars. Yes, all that stuff will happen. But he says, until this gospel is preached where? Throughout the world. Then and only then will the end come.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.